So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Back again, and I know this is a non-normal time, I suppose, is how you would put it, for a podcast like this. But we did mention to you that, you know, things were going to be a bit up in the air over the next few days, just with commitments and stuff like that. So Paddy is going to do the team sheet tantrum on Saturday, and you guys be delighted, you won't have my mush to look at on Saturday, because I am going to take a bit of a break just this weekend from podcasting. I've got some friends coming up, and I haven't seen some of them in quite a while, and I'm going to go to the pub and I'm going to watch the match. And usually I do team sheet tantrums from pub beer gardens and stuff like that, but I'll be going out at 12 o'clock in the day, and I don't know what I'll be able to string a sentence together come 7 o'clock. Never mind do a post-match after the game. So it'll be very unlikely you will see me at the weekend. But I said I'd jump on and I'd do a little bit of a preview of this, because look, I know a lot of people are hurting at the moment, and I know a lot of people are kind of wondering, you know, within this 3-game losing streak, this 1 win in 7, you know, a lot of people are wondering, has the glass gone off the team? And the more I've thought about it over the last few days, I don't think it has. There's been a lot. There's been some really actually. Can I address something really quickly as well? Just before we go into this match preview, I want to go back to the game on Wednesday night. I want to just talk about something that's apropos of nothing really, with regards to going forward. Well, maybe it is to do with people's feelings towards this recent slump. But I just wanted to address something. I got a couple of DMs, nothing to do with me. There were no negativity to me or anything like that, but they had Tyrone Mings specifically in their mind, and there was 4 DMs in total that I got with regards to Tyrone Mings. And I'm sorry, and I'm shocked to say that there was 2 elements in them that I didn't find very savoury. And I just like to kind of ask people or just let people that I'm not an ally with people who hold views with regards to what I'm going to talk about in a moment. So there was an undertone. Well, there was no overt tone, I suppose, to racism towards Tyrone Mings within those DMs, and also there was no overt tone towards slagging him over his mental health issues. Now, I don't tell people how to fan. If you have to hold those feelings towards somebody, then you be that person and you live with yourself with regards to that. But I just want to say I don't want to be an ally to that. And if people are sending me that stuff in DMs expecting me to agree with them, now I promptly responded to those people and I told them, listen, not the place for that. Don't like it. We're not the podcast for that. I certainly won't be standing by it and abiding that. And if anybody hears that stuff going on, I think you should be the same. But I won't tell you how to fan. You can look yourself in the mirror whenever you do. So I just wanted to kind of get that one out of the way at the moment. I'm saying this with a smile on my face because I don't hate those people that sent that stuff. They do listen to the podcast. But I would just like to say that I'm not going to be an ally for that. I'm not going to join in. I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to respond in the way that you think I am if you send me DMs like that. So just want to get that one out there. Now, I know there's probably drink on board and stuff like that, but look, 2024 ain't the place for that. So just wanted to get that off my chest, I suppose, at the start. And I'm obviously not naming and shaming anyone or anything like that. And, you know, but it's just, I felt I needed to say it, and I suppose that's all that matters to me. Anyway, moving on towards Liverpool and Aston Villa at the weekend, and I mentioned about the kind of the glass gone off some of the performances of Aston Villa at the moment, and I've seen a lot of people talking on the internet recently about one thing or another about, you know, everybody has jumped to a hot take as to what's gone wrong, quote unquote, with Aston Villa recently, and I don't think anybody's right, because I don't think there's any way that we can know if anybody's right at the moment. They might be proven to be right soon, but I think that Aston Villa were always every year we always do come a cropper at a certain time. We always do go through a slump. and in the last 2 years we've had under Unai Emery. We are not a complete team. In any of the previews that we had coming into this season, both myself and Paddy said that we were not a complete team, and I think the areas that we are still incomplete in are the areas in where we are coming a cropper in certain areas, in certain aspects. But obviously, I think the overall play of the team, specifically against Bruges, the lackluster play of the team against Bruges, the lackluster play of the team against Spurs, and also against Crystal Palace, does warrant conversation for sure. But I personally aren't one of these people that wants to rush to say, yeah, I've exactly pinpointed what the issue is. We've got too many players to pick from. I don't subscribe to that. I don't see any. I have no evidence to believe that that's the reason that's the reason why this is happening. Unai Emery's last dressing room I saw on Twitter. I certainly don't subscribe to that. And if you do subscribe to it, that's fine. I'll need cold hard evidence on it, but I certainly don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to the fact that that 6 or 7 or 8 players need to be sold in January, and we need to have a full rebuild of teams. This is all stuff that was doing the rounds, and that's fine. And people may believe that, and that's fine. You may be proven right. I'm an evidence guy. I don't see the evidence of that at the moment. I don't see the evidence of that needing to happen at the moment. I think we're a team that needs addition, and more addition than we do need subtraction at the moment. I think there are a couple of players here that are finding it difficult to get to the pitch of their performances last year. Potentially, and I know where I said that, have we got too many players? Potentially, the rotation of certain players isn't helping. But I think the sample set of that is too small at the moment for us to say that that's the issue. We have huge problems at centre half. We have huge problems at right back. Sorry, at the right hand side of our team in general. We've got big problems there, and they're not easy ones to solve. They're not easy problems to solve. There's a lot of an element, I would imagine, as well, of teams knowing how we're going to play. The element of surprise potentially isn't there anymore. And when you don't have an element of surprise and you don't have pace in your attack, you're going to come a cropper at times like this. And that's why I said in a post match after Bruges, where I was pretty annoyed, and I said stuff without evidence. As I said, I'm an evidence guy. I like to be able to see a sample set of stuff and say, right, over these last 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 games, I can see that this isn't working, and it's and I be honest with you, I listened back to the podcast after Bruges, and there's parts of it where I wasn't even really making sense about the team playing arrogantly. It's just how I kind of felt, and I don't usually go with this is my feelings and how things are. And I still can't get away from it. So like everybody is fallible in that aspect, but I can't get away from the fact that I think that the team were at a stage where they were like, oh God, we have to go again and play another game. And players had their, if we come out of that with a 0-0 draw, we probably would have felt a small bit better about it, but we still would have highlighted the fact that it was a lackluster performance in a game that we should have gone and won. Now, what does that got to do with playing against Liverpool at the weekend? Unai Emery has kind of shown us that game on game, it doesn't mean an awful lot. And what I mean by that is that this team can go out in a dogfight and fight against pretty much we fought against any big team that we've come up against. And in one game, from one game to the next, we've been poor against them. And then next game we've gone and won against them. We've beaten Man United. And I know Man United aren't the big team that they were, but you know the way that they're the bogey against us that they always have been. Beat them in Unai's first game. Element of surprise. Completely get it. But we played absolutely brilliant football. Arsenal, Man City last year. Bayern Munich this year. We have the propensity, we have the ability to pull a result out of a big game. Are we going to do it at the weekend? Even me, the most ardent, optimistic, glass half full man, would struggle to say that we would do it based on current form. But it's not absolutely insurmountable. It's not impossible. There was a 3-minute salvo for Liverpool against Brighton, which really rescued them. Yeah, they played well. They played well in that game, and Brighton were 1-0 up or whatever. But Liverpool get 2 goals in 3 minutes. And that's the thing that annoys me most about this game, is that we have a propensity to concede multiple goals in a short space of time as well, regardless of what the manager is. You go back as far as probably Ron Atkinson and Brian Little were the last managers we didn't do that under. It's just been an Aston Villa thing. And Liverpool have the propensity to do that, to score goals in bursts and really kill teams in a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minute period. That's what I'm hoping for Aston Villa at the weekend. Things are tight. I'm hoping we keep it tight. Maybe Tielemans might be out. They're talking about Tielemans would play. If we are playing Tielemans and he's got an issue, play him further forward. Play him up beside Ollie Watkins. Have him occupy players and occupy space up there. But I think, and the more I watch that game against Bruges and the more I've watched the game against Spurs, I really think we need to go back to that box midfield, and we need McGinn for inward. We need McGinn in the centre of midfield more. We need him somewhere in there in the centre of midfield more. We have to find a way to get him in there. It's difficult because we've been playing in this structure for so long, but we need more energy in there to win the ball back higher up the field. I think he will play Onana and Kamara at the weekend. And I think we'll have McGinn and we'll have Tielemans and we'll have Rodgers. So, and some way there's going to be some sort of a kind of a hunker down in midfield aspect. And I don't think any one of us would, well, I'm not going to say any one of us would disagree, but, if we go in there and go into Anfield at the weekend and try and keep it tight in midfield, you don't let Gravenberch just break that line and pass the ball. He's been sensational this season. If you can kind of, if McGinn comes further in field, he just wants to work. I think his best asset is his Energizer Bunny ability at the moment. McGinn's best asset is his tigerishness, and we're losing it when we put him out in the wing. We really are. Yes, can you say, oh, he's there and he might be able to protect Konza and he gets back up further up and down the field, and is he there to protect Dina when he's out on the left? Yeah, he is. And does he get up and down the field? Yeah, he does. But we're going to need him in and around the centre of the field at the weekend. We're going to need him when Onana or when Kamara or when Tielemans or somebody like that is pulled out of position, which they will be, and it's not because they're bad, or it's just Liverpool are bloody excellent at us off the ball runs that will be able to do that. When that happens, John McGinn is the man with the effort to get back in there. He is 1000% effort, and we're losing it putting him out in the wings. We just are. So for me, I want McGinn for closer in field a small little bit more. Our back four is going to be what our back four is. It's going to be Konza, Carlos, Pau Torres, and Lucas Digne. That's the way it is. I'm not going to harp on the fact that I think Konza should be playing at centre back. He just should. And for me, that's almost a closed book at the moment. Now we could we've had some great results under it. Don't get me wrong, but if the structure in front of them isn't right, we've got Luis Diaz going to be plowing down on top of Konza, which is grand. I have no problem with that. But we have Salah plowing down on top of Digne. We're going to probably have Darwin Núñez, or if Darwin Núñez isn't playing and Gakpo is out on the left and Diaz is up in the number 9 position, it doesn't make things any easier. So it's a formidable front four that they're going to bring. Very formidable front four that they're going to bring. And whether it's Curtis Jones or Szoboszlai that starts in midfield, excuse me, that's still going to be formidable as well. So Villa are going to need to get midfield right, very right at the weekend, and midfield is going to dictate how our back four the comfortability of our back four. It's going to be a lonely evening, I think, for Ollie Watkins. Again, and to be honest with you, it was a lonely evening for him against Bruges, which was really, really surprising. And I think that arresting the slump of not losing 4 games in a row is paramount. I think this is a game that you go out and try not to lose. And Villa have been patchy at that historically. They've been useless at it historically. They've been patchy enough at it under Unai Emery recently. But we've got some really good players too. A lot of people are focusing on Liverpool's first 11, first 15, and they're amazing. We've got a very, very good first 11, first 15 ourselves. It's for me, it's it's about getting the right players to stuff those lanes to get the spacing right. The spacing hasn't been right since Crystal Palace. It really hasn't been right. Been right in midfield, between midfield and attack, and it hasn't been right between the two centre halves either. There's just been something off in that central area, that central spine, since Palace. And I think, to be honest with you, I think plugging it with either McGinn or bringing in a Kamara in there, and going a lot narrower than we normally have. I think that's the way forward. Well, it's the way to play against this Liverpool team, I think. If you are trying to stifle play. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But the more and more I'm watching, the more and more I'm thinking, if January comes around and there's an opportunity, I've talked about an opportunity for a right back or whatever. But I think to get there's two options of purchases in January, and one is a winger or a right back. I think that's it, because that's kind of where we're lacking. It's kind of where we were lacking coming into the season too. But we won't have him against Liverpool, so we need to find a way to set out our stall and to play against Liverpool in a way that we can nullify them. And our set pieces have been good this season. You know, when you've got good set pieces, you always have a chance to score a goal. But it's the nullification, it's the stopping the passing lanes, it's making sure that Luis Diaz can't just float out from that left hand side and come in like he did against during the week in Champions League. Name escapes me. In Leverkusen in Champions League, that was outstanding. Salah's goal against Brighton, just amazing, coming in off that right hand side, and it's just diagonal runs. That's what it is. And the way that you stop diagonal runs for me is to have that extra body in midfield, so that when somebody does run diagonally, you've got somebody who can come back and doesn't have to turn. You've got maybe an anchor point in midfield. I think we go back to a true anchor point in midfield at the weekend, and have that as Boubacar Kamara, or have that as Amadou Onana. More likely, I would like to have Boubacar Kamara there. Just think he's better at it. But have that anchor point, and build around that anchor point with his main job is to make sure that he gives that bit of time for communication between the two centre halves, between the back four, I suppose, as a whole, number one. And second of all, that he's there to stop out if the spacing does go wrong, that he's there to be an extra pawn in the way for diagonal balls or diagonal runs. It's not as simple as that, obviously, but I think it goes a long way to giving us that extra pillar there in midfield. Just hold your position. A person is just going to hold their position and be that anchor point. And whether that is the case or not, we will see. I listened to 1874 this morning, and Greg Evans mentioned that Unai Emery is beginning to cut a angry figure on the touchline, I think he said. I think he actually said that his out there take or whatever it was that Unai Emery was going to get sent off. I think Unai Emery's been like that quite a lot. I think he's been like that. You know, remember when he first came in, he used to lose the rag with Matty Cash. I keep on going back to that because it was just like, I think we'd never seen a manager like that before. So animated from that point of view. And he'll be animated at the weekend. And that animation is good because, you know, it means that he's spotting things that he wants to have changed. He wants to change. He wants to have rectified. A lot of people were very annoyed picking out. Well, I suppose really after the last two games, I think people have picked out post-match interviews and lines said in post-match interviews and criticised them, and that's fine. Once again, if that's what you guys do, but for me, media training means that there's never going to be anything negative said in a post-match interview. They're pretty bland. Like Unai said, he was happy with how we played. He's not going to publicly criticise. John McGinn said something about the loudness in the stadium. They're just filler words, an awful lot. And I know it was taken out of context, and I don't remember the full context of the word, but a lot of those are just filler words that are taught to you when you're media trained. So I wouldn't take too much into that. And I know we're all sitting here and we're all looking for reasons behind stuff and so on, but You know, in media trained era, you're not going to get those in post match interviews. But I would read more into Unai Emery's body language on the touchline, and the fact that he is the fact that he was pissed off at what he saw against Club Brugge, as opposed to I think we played really well. You know, that he said after the game. I think that's just an exercise in getting those things over and done with, which is fine, which I'm fine with. I would do the same if I was a Premier League manager. I'd come out there. I'd say the most bland, the most cookie cutter stuff that you would come across, and I go back into the dressing room and I tell people a new one. And apparently that's what Unai Emery did. Apparently he was very, very angry after the game. Apparently he was very animated in the dressing room and around the dressing room, and more or less, you know, held court after the game. And that's fine. That's brilliant. No, that's the passion we want. That's the passion we want from a manager. And that gives me hope that we will go out with a different game plan on Saturday against Liverpool. And that leads me to believe the more I think about it, the more I think Boubacar Kamara will be playing in some way, shape or form from the start against Liverpool. And I'm not resting on, I'm not throwing all my chips in behind Boubacar Kamara or whatever it is, but he does three things for me. He does three things. He scans the field very well. He keeps possession very well, you know, and he's that covering blanket. And he can and has absolutely been in Unai Emery's system, that anchor man that we haven't had without him in the team. That person that can drop back within the back three. How many times have we spoken about it before? We haven't gotten that this year as well. Some of our results have been really good. We're still in a really healthy position. We're talking as if we're Wolves at times. I find myself drifting down to, oh my God, we're having a shit time of it. We're absolutely not. We're you know, Liverpool or Villa are doing well. We could be doing better. We could be in a way better position if it wasn't for mental lapses and, you know, and snatching draws from the jaws of victory and stuff like that. But Unai Emery would have spotted that. I'm like, we have to believe that, given everything we've seen, given all the evidence of what he's done and how he's transformed the club. We have to believe that he has seen that. We can't just. I'm not going to say we can't, but I'm not going to just turn around and question. After a 3-game losing streak, so we could have done that when we lost to Arsenal and lost to Leicester when he first came in. We could have done that last year when we lost to Forest, when we drew against Sheffield United. All those games. He's delivered on what he's told us he was going to deliver on. Champions League football. We're in the Champions League. I've no doubt. He wants us to finish in the top 8. Well, let's see if we finish in the top 8. But the big things here start with the Premier League. He's always said his Premier League was his main focus, and the Premier League is what we play Liverpool in at the weekend. And what plan is he going to have up his sleeve, or what tweaks and changes are we going to see? We won't know that until 8:05, 3 minutes past 8 on Saturday. So we can sit here and we can guess all we want. I haven't gone to the comments because, oddly enough, I find it difficult to do the comments when Paddy's not here. But I'm going to go down through a couple of these here. Rob P is saying, will Paddy take over the post-game show? No, Paddy won't be able to do the post-game show. The post-game show will probably be on Sunday. So barring something absolutely fantastic happens, and I can still work my phone and come on for a post-match show, it's most likely going to be on Sunday. It won't be directly after the game. Where else are we here? Where else are we? I'm gonna go down here a small bit, guys. Apologies. Villa fan says, I've seen a lot of people say Diaby is a big miss. I do agree, but I think PSR stopped us in trying to get a replacement for him because we were looking at Felix to replace him, weren't we? Two things on that. Diaby is a miss. There was vast swathes of last season where people were saying Diaby was crap as well. So we weren't saying it here on this podcast, but the thing we miss most with Diaby is pace. And Diaby may have been pushed off the ball, and he may have been a bit lightweight, and he wanted to move. Let's let's not forget that he wanted out and he asked out. He asked to get out of Villa. So, but with regards to the PSR, it was definitely PSR. We didn't get a replacement for him, which is a bit of a pain in the nuts because Philogene probably was that replacement, all being said and done. But he isn't the like for like. That latent pace that Diaby had is we haven't replaced it, and Leon Bailey has taken a noticeable step backwards this year, which has negated the pace that he has because we haven't been able to get him on the ball. So I think finding ways to get pace into this team is what would be so it'd be Unai Emery's probable task, I would say, in January, if we can spend in January, and definitely in the summer. So he says he'd flood midfield with Onana and Buba, and then Rodgers, Tielemans and Ramsey flooding midfield. I will go with Rodgers, Tielemans and McGinn. I think McGinn's energy is what's needed for the weekend. That ability to be able to turn and still keep on running and just like run yourself into the ground, I think is what's needed at the weekend. And the thing with McGinn's not going to be able to do that forever. I think he's touching 30. That's probably a conversation. Maybe he is. Jesus, maybe he's an Iron Man. Like, 30 isn't exactly old, but he still is able to do it now. And I think that's think while we have him pushing him out into the wing, we're not utilizing him correctly. He should be. I think he's plugging a gap because he's the brilliant teammate that he is, and he will go down in Villa folklore for being an amazing teammate, absolutely amazing teammate, and a bloody good footballer. Don't get me wrong. And he's putting himself out there on that right hand side. But I think we need him in centre a bit more. I think we need to tweak that setup. I think we need to tweak that setup for sure. Scotty Taggart says we really need Bailey to find some form. It's a huge problem with obviously Diaby leaving. Questions over JBP and also Bundia. Yeah, Bundia is the most disappointing one for me. Sorry, I'll roll back on that. Buendia is the one for me that I was hoping would be up to speed a small bit quicker. But again, he's coming back from an absolute horrible injury, an ACL injury. And when he came on against Bruges midweek, he wasn't very good at all. He's a guy who needs to find a small bit of. We have a couple of guys in our team, don't we? That I've no exact knowledge of this, but like Bailey tends to get in his own head. And he needs to get out of his own head, and he needs to, he needs to feel good to play good. I'm wondering, is Buendia the same? He cuts a frustrated figure more often than not, and I think by his very nature, he's a happy chappy, and I think maybe he struggles when he's not playing well, or he doesn't have a concerted amount of game time to affect the game. And I think he doubts himself, puts pressure on himself. I don't know what way you want to call it. So yeah, he's an interesting one, and they're two players that we would like to have right, and maybe we'll take the international break to get right from that standpoint, and to big themselves up, or to get themselves in a better position, I suppose, with regards to how they feel their game is going, so that they can contribute. I could be wildly wrong with Buendia in that, but I always kind of get that feeling with him as well, kind of like Bailey, that he feeds off the positivity, and when you're only playing 5, 6, 10 minutes in a game, you can't affect things, and things mightn't go right, and you probably over push the envelope from that point of view. I don't know. Could be wrong on that one as well. Carl Thomas says Bayern style game for me, same back five, Philogene wide right, McGinn left, Tielemans, Kamara, Onana, Rodgers and Watkins on the counter. I wouldn't be against it, but the only problem here is, playing Philogene there, we would have to play him further back and hope that we hit the team in the break. Where else are we? Yeah. Jake, Aston Villa says, if a winger was available in January, who would you like to snap up in a dream reality? Jesus, I don't know. I'm stumped. I wasn't even thinking and stuff like that. I'm still a huge fan of Semi Klitschko from Besiktas. Huge fan of his. But he's not typically a winger. He's more of a kind of where Morgan Rogers plays. Yeah, stumped. Somebody with pace. Answers on a postcard. For that one. Yeah. Seb Blackmore says Rafael Leo. Yeah, there's just little matter of about 110 million, I think, for Rafael Leo, I would say, because AC Milan don't need the cash and they aren't going to let him go too cheap, I would imagine. But yes, I would very like a player of the caliber of Rafael Leo, Seb, for sure, 100%, 110%. Right, I'm going to leave it at that, guys. I don't know how the hell I spoke for half an hour here. Plus, it's 4:00. I got to go and collect my little ones. But thanks a million, everybody, for watching, for listening. And as I said, Paddy will be back tomorrow with a team sheet tantrum. And barring something absolutely amazing happening at Anfield, we'll probably hold off on a post match until Sunday. And I'm just going to take a break for the day tomorrow. And rekindle with some great old friends of mine, of which one of them is a rabid Liverpool fan. So I might, we'll see how that one goes. From 8:00 onwards, we may not be too good friends. From 8:00 on until the bones at 10 tomorrow, but we'll see. But in the meantime, everybody, listen, look, stay safe, stay healthy, stay positive. You know, Aston Villa are not a bad football team overnight. We do have some creases that we need to iron out, big creases in certain areas. But we do have a really, really positive manager. We do have a really, really good manager. And, Liverpool at the weekend, it's not going to be an easy game. They're the form team. They've won 14 out of 16. But, it's still two teams playing against each other. And we do have a puncher's chance, albeit we will be massive underdogs at the weekend. But we won't know until the final whistle is blown at the end of the game. And we will see you then as I said, Paddy will see you for a team sheet tantrum, and I'll be back then for a post-match podcast on Sunday. But in the meantime, everybody, mind yourselves, and as always, up the Villa.